What if the biggest plane ever built came back from the dead? What if a single airline was so obsessed with it, they offered to bankroll its resurrection to the tune of $20 billion? And what if the only thing standing in the way was a company that already pulled the plug? This is the story of an airline's obsession, an aircraft too big to live and maybe too beloved to die. When Airbus rolled its final A380 off the assembly line in 2021, it was a moment most of the aviation world met with a quiet nod and a sigh of relief. The superjumbo was bold, ambitious, and, for many airlines, an expensive mistake. The industry was moving on, but not Emirates. They weren't done, not even close. While everyone else retired their fleets or shuffled their remaining A380s into quiet corners of airports, Emirates did the unthinkable. They doubled down. With over 100 A380s in their fleet, more than all other carriers combined. Emirates didn't just keep flying the giants, they built an empire around them. And behind this empire stands one man with a plan, Sir Tim Clark, the president of Emirates, and perhaps the last true believer in the A380's future. Clark isn't content with simply preserving what's left of the A380 fleet. No, his ambitions stretch further. He's pitched Airbus a radical idea: bring back the A380, not as it was, but reimagined, reinvented, reborn. Enter the A380 Neo. Forget minor tweaks or updates. Clark's asking for a full-scale evolution. A new generation of the superjumbo that's 25% more efficient, lighter, more powerful, and built for the skies of tomorrow. He claims he even submitted a detailed design proposal to Airbus. When they balked at the estimated $20 billion development cost, his answer was swift, almost defiant. If you build them, we'll buy them. Now, who in their right mind would invest $20 billion into a plane that the world has already buried? To answer that, we need to revisit why the original A380 failed in the first place. At its debut in the early 2000s, the A380 was a technological marvel, an aircraft that could seat over 850 passengers, span 80 meters across the wings, and take off weighing over 1.2 million pounds. It was built for a world of hub-to-hub travel, of mega airports and mass demand. But the market had other ideas. Its four-engine configuration drank jet fuel like water. Its enormous wings limited the airports it could operate in. Its size made it expensive to operate, inflexible, and a nightmare when not flying full. And then came the twins, smaller, nimbler, fuel-sipping jets like the Boeing 787 and Airbus A350 that could fly long distances without needing to pack hundreds of passengers. It was a mismatch between vision and reality. Airbus bet big and lost. But aviation has changed again, and Clark believes that what once doomed the A380 could now be its salvation. For starters, the materials that form the bones of modern aircraft have evolved dramatically. When the original A380 was built, composites were still new. Today, aircraft like the A350 and 787 are made of over 50% composite materials, lighter, stronger, and more durable than traditional metals. Imagine applying that to a redesigned A380, a lighter frame, reduced drag, and significantly lower fuel burn. Clark's vision involves major aerodynamic refinements: a smaller tail fin to cut drag, slimmer, smarter wings, possibly even folding wingtips like those on Boeing's 777X, which would make the massive bird easier to accommodate at crowded airports. These changes wouldn't just shave weight, they'd make the A380 more agile, more efficient, more competitive. But none of this works without the right engines. And here's where the plot thickens. The original A380's engine, the Rolls-Royce Trent 900, and the Engine Alliance GP7000 were beasts built with 1990s technology. Capable, sure, but not designed with today's priorities in mind. Enter the Rolls-Royce Ultrafan, a next-generation engine that may be the single most important factor in bringing the A380 back to life. This isn't just an upgrade. It's a revolution. The Ultrafan combines a huge 140-inch fan, composite blades, a geared turbofan architecture, and the ability to run on 100% sustainable aviation fuel. It's expected to reduce fuel consumption by up to 25% over previous models. And that, according to Clark, changes everything. An A380 Neo powered by Ultrafan engines could rival the fuel efficiency of today's twin jets while carrying hundreds more passengers per flight. It's a tantalizing prospect, but technology alone won't be enough. Here's the wild part. Passengers love the A380. Despite its costs, its logistical headaches, and its uncertain future, it remains one of the most beloved aircraft ever built. And it's not hard to see why. The cabin is whisper quiet, the ride is smooth, the space unmatched. On Emirates, flying the A380 isn't just transport, it's luxury in motion. First-class suites with sliding doors, onboard showers at 40,000 feet, a cocktail bar in the sky. Even in economy, seats are wider and the cabin feels less cramped than on smaller aircraft. In a post-pandemic world where travelers crave space, comfort, and experience, the A380 feels tailor-made for the new normal. It's more than nostalgia, it's good business. Emirates has built a brand around this aircraft. In 2023 alone, they operated over 100 daily A380 flights across 6 continents. With 2-class configurations seating up to 615 passengers, Emirates has figured out how to make the economics work, something most airlines never managed. Now imagine those economics with a 25% efficiency boost. That's the A380neo's promise. Add to that the infrastructure. Emirates has already built maintenance hangars, training simulators, specialized parts, airport gates, and the case for continuity is even stronger. Why walk away from a system that works, especially when upgrading could be more cost-effective than starting over? And here's the kicker. Airport congestion is only getting worse. Major hubs like Heathrow, JFK, and Tokyo Narita are slot constrained. They can't handle more flights, only bigger ones. If airlines want to grow in these environments, they'll need bigger planes. Suddenly, the argument for super jumbos starts to make a lot more sense. Environmentally, the A380neo might sound counterintuitive. How could a 4-engine giant be green? But here's the twist. On a per-seat basis, especially when flying full, it could rival or even outperform smaller aircraft. Fewer flights to move the same number of people means fewer takeoffs, less congestion, and potentially lower emissions overall, especially when you factor in 100% SF compatibility and future technologies like electric taxiing systems or advanced winglets. Still, reviving the A380 won't be easy. Airbus didn't just pause production, they dismantled the entire operation. Assembly lines were torn down, engineers reassigned, supply chains dissolved. Restarting would require an immense investment, not just financially, but in time, people, and attention. And Airbus knows it. That's why they tossed out that $20 billion price tag. That's why they've shown reluctance to revisit the program. For them, the A380 was a closed chapter. But for Emirates, it's a future still unwritten. Would Airbus take the gamble? Probably not without more customers. Right now, most major airlines are sticking with smaller planes. Lufthansa, Qantas, and British Airways have either retired their A380s or put their fleet plans on hold. But if Emirates can rally even a few partners carriers flying high-density long-haul routes, then the business case starts to take shape. Passenger growth in Asia, the Middle East, and Africa shows no signs of slowing. Airport congestion isn't going anywhere. Engine technology is evolving. Emirates is still betting big. And above all, passengers are still in love with the A380. So maybe, just maybe, there's room in the skies for one more comeback. After all, aviation history is filled with bold bets that paid off. The 747 was once considered too big to succeed. The Concorde, too expensive to sustain. The A380, too ambitious to survive. And yet, here we are, still talking about it, still hoping. So what do you think? Should Airbus build the A380 new engine option and bring back the king of the skies? Or should they leave the legend where it lies in history, not in hangars? One thing's for sure, Emirates is ready. All Airbus has to do is say yes.